Um, Thank you very much. It ended on a very positive note, and thank you for that. You have been great troopers. You have had the patience to stay through also. I don't know how many graphs that you know, most of them rather devastating, or at least carrying a message that is overwhelming to many of us. And actually, in the break, we discussed how do we turn this into something that can be an instrument or a tool for especially young people, because they want to live. They want to have a future on this planet. So how can we help them to channel their engagement and their commitment as well? And I think this is something where we would like to contribute. It's a massive picture, a massive amount of facts and figures and models and what not during the day. And I hope we have not made you too exhausted, but rather we would like to see that you are inspired more than anything else to go home and reflect in your respective organization and context, and hopefully do something as well as a help. Dennis, why don't you say a few words about the declaration and how that came about? I think that has been circulated to all participants as well.
Yeah.
Yes, so why don't you present
First, just I would like to echo what Mark was saying, that Peter Beckett went here to have that kind of voice coming from business, to talk about beyond business as usual, to talking about the grand challenges, but not as something that is driven by fear, but driven by innovation and the joy of actually creating something that we need, was also something that we thought about. How do we create a framework with people that we can start to redefine this big challenge? So the Global Challenge Foundation then gathered a lot of people to say, if we approach this from a risk perspective, what would that entail? And we wanted just to make sure that there was no really big disagreement around these things. So we have this sort of four very simple, I think it's the only declaration that I've been part of where it's almost been no disagreement. Everybody just wants to add additional things, but we wanted to keep it super simple. So it's just these very simple things that you should look at the whole probability curve. So when media, policymakers, etc., don't only talk about the 2 degrees, etc., look at all the different possibilities. Look with extra attention to the low probability, high impact scenarios, as we heard earlier, the financial panel. That's really the most important. And then also use appropriate language for risk. And this is a dual thing. First of all, risk for many people, that's one of the reasons that we decided to call it the risk and opportunity indicator. For many people within the finance sector, risk is an opportunity. But we need to be careful on how we trigger emotions in people. But that's one thing. And the second thing is also, if we use a confusing language, that to some extent IPCC has, because of their internal work, they have a definition of low probability, which is not necessarily something that is well used by mass media. Because most people, when they talk about low probability, they think that's not something you should care about. So that's something we really need to think about. How do you turn the language about risk to talk about the opportunities, to engage, to feel that you do something, and then also make sure that you don't call it something that make people think that it's not relevant. So these two things together, making sure that we have a language around this. And then finally, that people, and this makes us of course very, very happy, that there's a strong agreement from China to the lower island lying states, from academia to business, to say that we need these tools to translate science into something that helps us take action. Something that is concrete and specific. Not something that you need to have a full day working on and hundreds of slides to start understand, but that you, as a decision maker, very simple, can use. And that's why we are very happy to have Peter Beckett here, to see how can we start exploring that and on these different levels, on sector levels, business levels, maybe even on different specific capacities that people have. But we also think it's reaching out to institutions like CIPRI. How do we use the similar language there and translate these things? So that's really what we're happy to see here now, that we, as an outcome of this also, we have this declaration, and we're now looking forward to, over the next 6 months, to see how can have that been adopted, how can that be used, and what else can we, all of us, do to make sure that this is not staying with words, like many people have said now. We don't need only more words, we need action also. So that's really where we're looking forward to engage with you in the future.
So are there some questions left?
Could I just show you, because I was really triggered what you said, Peter, what was maybe the most important thing coming out today? It's this. This is what IPCC just released. And if I do this, that is what we talk about the future of the planet. And I think we have a problem, and I was happy to hear Peter was almost a bit angry, may I say that? Sorry? Oh, sorry. May I say that you were a bit angry when you talked about this? Because this is also the core, one of the core things for us in the foundation is really, this is what we try to translate. Because this is the summary for policymakers. This is what's been brought forward so that policymakers should act. And of course, any business person or anyone who's interested in action don't necessarily see a clear guidance for what to do. So that's really what we have, tried to translate. So I just wanted to show you that this might be one of the most important words coming out today, but maybe not presented in a way that is really clear. So we try to do our small contribution to do this amazing work that the scientists have done, but make it understandable for a broader audience.
So you mean the equilibrium climate sensitivity quantifies the response of the climate system to constant radiative forcing on multi-century timescales?
Yes.
Yes. Are there any more questions? No, I think we should not scorn, the IPCC. We trust their work and their figures. We support the work of the International Climate Change Panel of Climate Change, because this is what we have to rely on also for actually working on our risk indicator, risk and opportunity indicator, and but communication is still a huge challenge to also the panel. If we don't have any more comments, I would just like to say again a warm thank you to our panelists. I think we've heard some great contributions today. Very interesting. Thank you all for coming and giving us from your experience and knowledge and everything that you have contributed today. Thank you and applause. Thanks to all of you who have stayed on a long day. I hope you felt it was worth it and that we can follow up in one way or the other. Follow us on our site, Global Challenges Foundation, and let's hope that we meet again soon in the context of fighting climate change and also working on how to describe both risks and opportunities. Thank you, and the meeting is over.